Pricing. How often have we had a really good conversation with a client on the phone? They're almost about to book in and then they ask you about the price and then you lose the booking altogether. If that sounds familiar, then today's video is definitely for you. My name is Mark Bailey. I own a studio that I've had for over 15 years. I've made tons of mistakes along the way and I've tried to learn from every single one of them. If you're interested in the business side of photography, then this video is definitely for you and this channel is definitely worth subscribing to. Over my next few videos, I'm going over how we get more bookings through the door and how we can keep consistent leads coming through on a daily basis. I'm then going to go through all the other sorts of stuff that we do with marketing and sales and post-production. So definitely give us a follow, subscribe and give us a like. If you've got any particular, definitely put it in the comments or drop me an inbox. Now, today I want to go through pricing and we need to split this up into two separate categories. For your clients to be happy with your pricing, you've got to be happy with your pricing as well. And it's very easy, especially for photographers, to undervalue what they do because you're just taking a picture and you're just doing a quick edit and there you go, you can have it. But what you've got is a very good skill and you're using very expensive equipment. Yes, your clients could go and do this themselves. But first of all, they need to buy all the equipment that you've got. They need to learn lighting, they need to learn the f-stops, the apertures. They also need to learn Photoshop or Lightroom. They've got to pay for all of this as well. Now, they could do it, but it's an awful lot cheaper to come to an expert like yourself and pay you what your fee is for that. Now, when it comes to setting your prices, we'll do a separate video on it, but what you need to do is work out how much money do you need to bring in every single month for you to have the lifestyle that you're after. Once you know that, you can then work it out going, how many sessions am I prepared to do each month? Once you know that, you would divide the amount you need to bring in by the number of sessions and that will give you your average spend that you need per client. And my rule of thumb is whatever your average spend needs to be, you need to have packages that are at least double that. Now, once we move on from figuring this out, we then need to get our mindset comfortable with our prices. Now, if you're thinking, but there are other photographers that are cheaper and my clients are always going to go for the cheapest option, what I'm going to say is think about the bread aisle in the supermarket. If you walk down there, how many different varieties of bread are on the shelves? There's got to be about 15, maybe 20 different varieties. Now, if consumers were only ever bothered about the cheapest option, there'd be one option and that would be the store-owned brand because that would be the cheapest on the shelf. But then there's all sorts of different varieties of breads and different prices. Now, another way you could look at it is the car manufacturers. How many different types of cars are they? Now, if you stop and think about it, a car does one thing. It gets you from A to B. It's a bit of tin with 4 wheels on it, as my dad always says. And he's dead right. The thing is that people will pay a lot more for status. They'll pay a lot more for comfort. They'll pay a lot more for quality. And this is all sorts of things that you can do within your own studio, whether it's a home studio, whether you go to people's houses, or whether you've got your own high street premises. Now, once you understand that, you realize that there's a market for absolutely everything. And you've just got to tap into that right market. And that comes with the marketing side of things, and we will cover that in a separate video. But you are worth what you need to bring in. So get yourself comfortable with your own prices first. Once you've done that, we then need to concentrate on your client and the response that you use with the client. Now, yes, the clients on the phone are going to be very price conscious because, let's face it, whether you agree with me or not, your clients are not going to value what you do until they come in and experience you've got to offer. I've already got a video on my channel which covers the experience. It's one of the most important parts of the whole process. You get the experience right and the value of your pictures goes through the roof. So, but they've got to come in and they need to experience that. So when I have a client on the phone and they ask me about price, first of all, before I answer, I need to break down what's going on here. What is it that they're after? What are they asking about the price at this point? Some people get scared about it. Now, the first thing that pops into my head is, fantastic. You're asking about price, which means you are already buying pictures in your head. So if they ask you about price, it's not a negative. It shouldn't be a scary thing. You should see that as a win. It's don't ask about price and they just come in, because what you'll tend to find is with those clients, they only ever came in for the offer, the freebie that's included. So anybody who's asking about price is already thinking a few steps ahead, which is great news. Now, for us, in our studio, the way it works is a client will book in with us. They'll then come in for the photo shoot and they'll go away. And then after the photo shoot, our editor will then work on the pictures. They'll then come back a separate day and they will view all of their pictures in our design consultation room, where we'll then design wall art for them. Now, for us, we will give them a product guide, and we don't give them the product guide until the end of the photo shoot. Now, you may disagree with that, going, no, they should know the prices up front. Okay, I know tons of studios that have gone down this route, and once you're starting to give people the prices up front, you will see you will see your bookings start to drop. If you notice that mistake, then please put it in the comments so I know you've watched it. Once you start to tell people the prices up front, or website and things like that, you'll see the number of bookings start to drop. I know a ton of photography studios that used to charge the same as us or even higher than what we were charging, and they were doing very, very well. Then they got very comfortable and then they started to put the pricing onto the website. All of a sudden people stop booking in because the people browsing on the internet will see a price and go, ooh, hang about, I'll see if there's anywhere cheaper. And then all of a sudden they're not focused on the pictures, they're focused on the pricing. So with these studios, and there's one in mind that I'm not going to name, but this particular photographer, she ended up had much higher average than what we did. Her photography is absolutely beautiful. I wish I was as good as her photography wise. And I know now her pricing is so much lower than what ours is. Her average has completely dropped. She's having to do a lot more sessions just to do what she used to do. And she also now has a high street premises, which is even more a cost for her. So that's because she's giving her price up front and starting to compete with others on price. Once you start to compete on price with other photography studios, it is a race to the bottom. So my advice, first of all, is don't put your pricing on your website. Your client needs to come in and experience it. Now, because I know how my structure is, they come in for the shoot, they get a product guide, they go home, they can read it, they can come back and see the pictures, and then we let them decide. Because I know this is how it works, I just need to explain this to the client so that they know they're not going to get sprung with some pricing. I know there's a very big brand out there, you know which one I'm on about. Very big, they were all over the place. There's not as many of them now, but the way they used to work would be that you would go for your photo shoot, you come back to see your pictures, and boom, there's the price whilst you're in there. Now, I've been in and I've experienced it to see what they did, and it's not a nice environment to be in. So for me, giving that product guide at the end of the photo shoot is the best place to do it. And the main reason for that is that they've just gone through and they've experienced everything. So now when I go, this is the price of this, the value from the experience is now already there. So the product guide makes sense to them. But how do you explain all this to your clients on the phone? Excuse me, sorry. So the way I would do it, or the way we do it, is a client will say to us, so what are your prices? Now I will say, so our prices start at £79 and then go up and up depending on what shape and size it is that you're after. Now I could go through all of the pricing with you over the phone, but it gets a little bit complicated. I could go through 10 by 8s, 24 by 24s, 15 by 39s, 30 by 40s. They're just random numbers. What I would recommend is when you come in for your photo shoot, you're going to want to come in, you'll see pictures all over the walls and things like that. And I would speak to your photographer and just go, I quite like that one over there. I quite like this one. How much is that? And they can tell you, and you can see it physically and know exactly what it is, okay? At the end of your photo shoot, you will be given a product guide that you can take away with you. That way, you and your partner can go home, have a read through the product guide, think about where stuff is going to go in the house, and make an informed decision on what your budget's going to be and where it's going to live in the house. The last thing I want is for you to come back and you buy 10 of everything, and then it all goes home and sits under the stairs because you don't know where it's going to go, and you've overspent and you get buyer's remorse. For me, I'd rather you spend less and get exactly what it is that you're after, and then that way you're more likely to refer us to people, and referrals are worth their weight in gold. So When you then come back to see your pictures and design your wall art, you already know what the pricing is and you know what your budget is, so we leave it for you guys to tell us what it is that you're after. And that is everything. So let's go ahead and get you booked in. I can get you in on Thursday at 4 o'clock. Is that okay? So that is literally how we answer the pricing question, and it works really well, because what we've done, if we break this down, I've explained to the client and took away the fear. They now know how it's going to work. Oh, come in for a shoot, you can speak to them and say, I like this, I like that, and they'll give me the pricing. They're going to give me a product guide. I can go away. We can sit down without any pressure. Nobody's here. Yeah, he's going to love all the pictures, but you write what he said. Let's let a budget together. Let's figure out what we're going to spend. Let's figure out where it's going to go in the house. And then when we go back, we can go, well, listen, our budget is £500, so we're going to go for this, or we're going to go for that, or we've seen this in the other room. So the client feels a lot more at ease. There is another part that's going to come up, which we'll go through in a second, but there's another part of that whole explanation which is really important. Now, it's not me being underhanded, but it's me using fear. People don't want to feel stupid. Now, when I start to talk about the sizing, you'll have realised it can get a bit confusing if I start to go through sizes. Now, if I go through a 10 by 8, if I go 24 by 24, 15 by 39, 30 by 40, they can get a bit confusing. So when you're here, you're with your photographer and you can point at stuff. So that whole little part of that bit there is a real good way to kind of got the client going, yeah, but what about this size? What about that size? Because for them, they don't deal in inches. So you're less likely to bring up what is that price. And they're going to be very, very happy with the fact that, okay, I don't want to carry on anymore. You've explained it to me that I'll get a product guide, I can take it away and I can have a read of it. And like I say, it's important that they get the product guide at the end of the photography shoot, because during the photography shoot, you're going to give them such a good experience and really focus on that. You're going to make sure there's cookies, there's drinks, there's music playing, there's diffusers and stuff to make sure they're really enjoying it. And you're going to really look after them, their world while they're there. And it's just going to give more and more value, so that when you give them that product guide, it matches the value that you've added there. Now there's another bit. They are going to turn around at some point every now and again, and they're going to say, what about digitals? Do you do digitals? Now for us, we do. Some studios don't, and I don't see anything wrong with not doing digitals, because there are the arguments that, well, wait a minute, if I give out a digital copy, I don't know, printer they're going to print it on. I don't know if they're going to get it framed correctly, and that's my work. I don't want my name attached to that, because if somebody prints it on a bad printer where one of the print heads is out, just the colours are just slightly off. Somebody says, oh, whose is that? And they go, oh, that's by Mark Bailey. Well, I don't really want my name attached to that, because that's not how I would have produced it. And I get that. For me in my studio, we do offer digitals, because we're just in a digital world now, and a lot of people want them. Now, when it comes to digitals, they're going to go, I want them all. What do you charge? Now, for us, I don't mind telling you, we charge £100 per digital. We put a minimum spend, so they have to buy a minimum of 5 digitals. Now, the client straight away is going to go, oh my goodness me, and how many pictures are you going to take? Now, if I say we take 20 to 30 pictures, they're going to be thinking, that's £2,000 to £3,000. No, I'm not paying that. That's not what I'm after. So I need to put a little bit of education into the client, because let's face it, we all know that if we do a full shoot for a client, they're not going to love every single picture. And so I explain that to the client. So when somebody goes, so how, do you do digitals? I'll answer very confidently, yes, we do digitals. They're the only thing that we offer that come with the full printing right. So you can make as many copies as you want of these as you need. Now they are £100 each. It's a minimum purchase of 5. But my advice is think about why you want the digitals. They are there if you want them, but in all honesty, you're then going to get the digitals to then be able to do the prints and stuff later on, which then has another cost involved. Now, that is there if you want it, but my advice would be think about a bit further down the line. It's going to go in the house, because in all honesty, it could end up working out cheaper for you to buy wall art than getting the digitals. But if you do decide you want them, they are there. And then I carry on straight away. I don't leave a gap, and I will go straight into. So, what day is best for you? I can get you in at Thursday at 2 o'clock if that helps. Now, they will want the digitals. For me, what I just said to you then is true. I personally think that when I have my team members come up to me, or if I get a sale and the client has gone just for the digitals, I feel personally like we haven't finished the job. because the client is spending a serious amount of money for these digitals, not so it can just be there to go on Facebook, not just so that you can sit in a drawer and never be used again, or they look at them maybe once or twice and that's it. They do intend to do something with them. Now, the reason that they've gone for the digitals is probably because they don't know what the endpoint is. I'm not too sure. They don't know where they're going to go in the house. I'm not too sure about, want stuff in the nursery, or do I want it in the living room, or do we need it in the dining room, or maybe we're moving house or something yet, or I just don't know. I've not made my mind up yet. So I will be doing a video on visualization, which is a massive important part. And we do this a little bit on the phones, only very softly, and then we do it a lot in the shoot, and we do it even more so in our design consultation. And if you get the visualization right, then the client no longer is looking at pretty pictures thinking, oh, I want them in those pretty frames. They're now visualizing where this is going to go in their house, above the sofa, on the fireplace, in the dining room, on that one wall, in the nursery, on that wall there. And so you can do that, they can visualize the end point, then the sale goes up even more, because all of a sudden the value isn't just the experience that you've given them and the pictures combined from the photo shoot. The value goes up even more then, because now they're visualizing where it's going in the house. And there's a very good way that we do that with layered questions, and I am going to cover that in another video coming up. So for me, when we have a client that does come in and just gets the digitals, I do see it as though we mustn't have got the visualization right, because the client still is trying to think, what are they going to do? That's not all the time. So there are the occasions where maybe dad knows a framer, or maybe knows somebody who does canvases, or maybe religion-wise they can't have frames going up on the wall, or maybe the maximum for their budget was whatever it is that they spend on the digitals, and they just needed to get as many of the digitals as they could, because further down the line when they can afford it, they'll then go for something else. We do offer finance, so if that is definitely something that I would recommend. If you need a finance company or something, we're not a finance company, but I can certainly give you the details of who we use, and they're very, very good. For clients, it's interest-free, which is great, so they don't spend anything else extra, which is nice. So this is pretty much how we handle our price question. And it works really well because your clients get confidence from you. Now, the price question only works if you say it confidently. If there's any sort of hesitation, any sort of doubt, and you're not too sure, then it will come through and the clients just won't book in with you. So watch this video back if you need to. The way that I explained it in the video is exactly how we do it on the phones, and it works really, really well. That is pretty much everything. I hope you've got some use out of this one. This is a real big one for us and works great. I trained a couple of studios on this in the past, and they still use it today and still swear by it. So definitely give it a go. Watch this back, rehearse it. Why not send me a little link where you're doing it on video, and I can give you some feedback. My next video that I'm going to be doing will be on the visualizations. So if you are interested in that, to try and get a much higher spend from your client, because they're now no longer looking at pretty pictures, they're looking at everything else, definitely get in touch. That is everything. Thank you so much for today, guys. Please give me a like and a subscribe. It'll really help and let me know that I'm on the right path. Thanks very much. Bye.